All right, it is time for Five with Freddy. Now, Fred, last night we found out that Origin will be played at the end of the season. At least we know now.
Yeah, that's a great relief to a lot of people. We know when it is. The preparations, which we set out pretty much last year after the last series, we've now got a definite time. So the details will be given out later on exact dates, and it's going to be interesting. The players that have already finished their season, just all in relation to those, the different parts of what's going to make up Start of Origin this year, and the players and training and where and when, and that's all going to come in. But the exciting thing is we know when it's going to be played and it's on.
Will you approach it differently? Will you have train-on squads, or is it a bit too early to think?
Well, no, it's not too early to think. These conversations have got to be had now, and I'm sure what we'll come up with is, I'm sure there'll be some type of squad, and mostly sit down with the league and with Kevy and just talk about the number. And there's a lot of things to talk about really from that point of view. There's going to be a lot of players that don't play in semi-finals, and then obviously there's going to be players that play in grand finals. So in the past there's been international games, so it's not as though they haven't played football after the season's over. So that's not going to be new to most of the players, but just about those players that aren't in the semi-finals might be a little bit tricky and interesting in how many you're allowed to have access to.
It does present that opportunity, doesn't it, for some guys that may not have been in the mix to, because we often see it in semis and grand finals, guys that get picked on kangaroo tours that may just get themselves into an Origin jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. In sport, I think what happens most of the time is you get used to winning and you just find the ways to win. And that's why, like you just made mention, so many players get their opportunity because they're in a grand final. I know I did when I was a kid in 1990. I was 18 years old, ended up on a kangaroo tour because Wally Lewis had a broken arm. And, he was ruled out. So, I managed to just flum my way into there because we were in a grand final that year. So, there's always great opportunity if you're in a good footy team that gets deep into the season.
What challenges does it present?
Well, I don't really see them as challenges, and we've got a long time now to iron out whatever could be a challenge at the time. But I suppose the ones is the players that aren't playing and keeping them motivated, and how big the squads are. That's going to be quite challenging, but it's going to be a pretty nice time of the year as well. October and November are renowned for just being beautiful weather, and so just about the challenges about making it interesting, but making sure they understand that we need to put on a show. And the people have coming off a pretty tough 12 months, whether it's a fire, whether it's a drought, and now a virus. So people don't just want entertainment; they want the highest quality of sport, and that means putting everything on the line. So it's not just about being fit; it's about it's getting to that next level.
So, Freddie, what challenges does it present having the Origin at the back end of the year, or don't you see them as challenges?
Well, the good thing is we've got some time and to prepare for whatever challenges there are. But considering what everyone's gone through over the last 12 months, fires, droughts, viruses, they're hardly challenges. So basically there'll be a mentality of just do whatever it takes and get on with it. And that'll be from Dave Trodden all the way down to the players and staff. So they're hardly called challenges in these times.
It's great that we're playing footy again, isn't it? I know we're not quite back on the field again, but thankfully Australia has performed very well in this worldwide pandemic. And look, just the idea that we're going to get back is heartening.
Yeah, I think mostly we're so self-critical, Australians. It's just in our nature to be sarcastic, but I think there's been some fantastic leadership around. In general, people have tried to be as good as they possibly can under the circumstances. And it feels like that, given the good leadership, that we might have a bit of joy at the end. We just got to hope that we get through these next month or so, and if we can do a good job there, it feels like then a lot of normality might be just around the corner.
A few of the boys haven't been showing the largest amount of common sense the last few days. How do you view what's happened with Josh Adokar, Nathan Cleary and others?
Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. I felt like over the last couple of months, I've never been sort of so proud of the players, the way they've handled the money, the scenario they're in, the isolation, then to have this right on the brink of when we're just about to come back. It's just extremely embarrassing. It just feels like anytime we keep raising the bar rugby league, we just seem to get pulled down. So hopefully we can get through this period. I think it's going to be vital that the players just get back under a coach and back under a system they're so used to that they've had their whole life. So the quicker that can happen, the better. But I think it's just incredibly embarrassing, and let's just, like I said, let's just hope we can get through this period and keep the faith of our politicians and our health officials and our border experts and all these people that are helping us get rugby league back in action.
What's your message? What's your message to all the guys, those that have stepped up and those that have sort of had the odd little drama? And there hasn't been many, just been a few of them.
Well, the reality would be there's a lot of people, when you just look at the beaches as an example, that they've found it really hard to isolate. It's an extremely difficult thing. It's the one thing that we tell everyone not to do, is be isolated, and all of a sudden that we're put in a position where now it's complete opposite. So it's against every instinct in our body to stay away from everyone else. So I just feel like I just want to get through this period. I don't want to make too many statements, but the reality is, you get a couple more of these scenarios, what we saw with Latrell and Josh and Nathan, and what we could be sacrificing is sort of $300 million as an industry. These aren't things to be sneezed at, and so if we can just get through these next couple of weeks, I think once they're under the guidance of coaches and staff and back in their familiarity, I think it'll become a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. They are unprecedented times, and as you say, a minor slip-up can mean a lot to a lot of people, and there's so many football staff that stood down at the moment. Look, it's good to know that we've got footy back. It's good to know that Origin has a place, even if it is at the back end of the year, and that was 5 with Freddy. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Timmy.